Okay, all right, I'd like to call this meeting to order, 2 o'clock, well, a little after 2 o'clock on April 29th. We have some DOT representatives here. Um,
Yes.
how are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well. How are you?
Um, all right, we're doing okay now that I'm here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we went ahead and closed our DOT office. Um, I thought we made some contacts with the state early on and asked some questions, and I guess we were left with kind of take it or leave it type of an attitude, and we went ahead and closed it. So you guys approached us to have a meeting, so I'm here to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind, I might just start with just a very
Sure.
quick introduction. My name is Kathleen Meredith Ayers. I'm the director of the Motor Vehicle Division for the Iowa DOT. As you probably well know, we in the MVD partner with all 99 county treasurers to support this delivery of vehicle services, title and registration, as well as 83 county treasurer offices to provide driver's license services. Also on the phone with me, I have Julie Johnson, who is our Customer Services Bureau Director, and then Daniel Ye, who is the DOT's Government Relations Director. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to have this meeting. Uh, I guess I'll just start by saying we highly value our partnership with Louisa County and all the county treasurer offices to provide this service. I think it's a great benefit to Iowans that we're able to partner when we can. Um, Obviously, we've been partners since 2000 when this model first came to be through some legislation. My goal here today is just to kind of have a conversation about how we can support you to the best of our abilities. Should you decide that you want to explore continuing providing DL services, and also, we can just, I think, talk through some of the factors that led to your decision. And while the DOT, we're fully prepared to support Louisa County residents come May 31st. We have two service centers within 30 minutes that can definitely handle the volume that you currently see in the treasurer's office. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we are providing all the resources we possibly can um, in the event that this is a service you want to continue at some point in the future. Um, so with that, I did kind of come with a few ideas, solutions that I thought we could talk about, knowing that this is sort of uncharted territory since the year 2000, since we started this model. So I think we're all kind of part of this learning together, but I'll just pause there if you have any initial kind of questions or comments.
Okay, well, my name is Sean Main, and I'm the board supervisor chair. Um, I will have to say that it has become increasingly difficult for our county to provide services with the finances that we have in place. We are a very, very rural county, roughly 10,000 people in our entire county. So we're trying to provide all these services on the backs of 10,000 people.
Mhm.
Um, it's quite a balancing act to be able to provide this. This decision wasn't brought and just done at the drop of a hat. We talked about this for at least a month, and there's a lot of people within the county that are upset that we've done it. Um, we do have some people here within our audience from the treasurer's office, and Vicky's here as well, and they might have some insight on some of the issues that they're having within their department. We did let one of their office people go, so that does short staff them a bit. On the drive portion part, when that's pulling another person out of the office to drive. We did float a proposal to the state on just doing license renewals and, new licenses if someone come with a driver's ed certificate and do away with the driver portion. At that time, the state wasn't interested in providing that concession, so, yeah, this is difficult. This is tough.
Mhm.
And I realized that, through some of our paperwork that, the driver's license station roughly $50,000 a year in revenue goes to the state. And I think we get back 12. So ish, I think it's difficult for us to kind of look at that department and say, we can operate that department with $12,000 worth of revenue. It's difficult to see that.
Very close, there's
Um,
13.
I don't know, again, this is tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I certainly, yeah, I can only understand the situation that you're in and the
Yeah.
position you're in. Mhm.
Do you guys have anything you wanna add to that?
Well, all the ladies in the treasurer office expressed a lot of concern on the support that they got from you guys when they had questions, and that they thought the support was lacking. And it took them extra time on a lot of phone calls and whatnot too, so that was a concern too.
Sure. Okay.
Well, let's see what you have to offer here.
Yeah, for sure. And before I get into that, yeah, I think, and I want to make sure, Vicky, I know you're in the room, that I am understanding kind of your current service model. So I understand and obviously you're split between property tax, driver, and vehicle. So it's, so there's obviously that complexity, but I'm understanding that the current model is you're open 4 days a week for driver services. It's essentially appointment only.
Yep.
Is that all correct?
It is, on Tuesdays, we don't issue, but we're kind of far from closed because we still allow people to take written tests. If they walk in and want to take a test, if the machine's not busy,
Sure.
and the phone calls never stop. You know how that goes. So Tuesdays we don't issue, but everything else still goes on.
Okay. And our numbers are showing about 15 drive tests a month on kind of the higher end, and then 150 licenses issued per month for about 1,800 total per year.
Probably for issuance, yeah,
Okay.
that might be about right, because drives, we only give on Wednesdays now. We used to give Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and our staff we can't do it. So we
Sure.
only give drives on Wednesdays, so that has cut back the number of drives we're able to give. And as far as issuance goes, just in defense, so that the people that are listening to this, that sounds like a very small number, but as you're aware, phone calls and the background that it takes to get one person issued takes a lot of time sometimes. So, just so that that's made aware that the number sounds small, but the phone calls and the helping customers with other things does take a lot of time and takes a person away from doing some of those other things we need to do.
I think one of the bigger things, the takeaways that I got from the ladies in the office was that we have what's the nationality that we're having trouble with?
Haitian Creole.
Haitian Creole, that the interpreter between English and that language doesn't always mesh up real well. So it's very difficult for them to understand what we're requiring of them. And so it just kind of drags out the whole process.
We use Google Translate a lot because the phone service that you provide to us to use, 9 times out of 10, they don't have a Haitian Creole person. And it's also very hard for us we don't have a cordless telephone, so it's hard to talk back and forth through our glass partitions. So we use Google Translate. Well, it has thousands of different languages, but Haitian Creole, the only option we have is one, and the dialect is just not the same. We have to
Sure.
keep trying to change words and it's painful to try and get through. Sometimes it'll take you 45 minutes just to get through what they need to bring when they come back.
Sure.
And we
Sure.
don't have the time and services to do that every time.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And I can't speak for other treasurer's offices, but when this started, I did get some comments from other counties that said, they have the same issues. And might be next on the chopping block. So I know this has got to be a concern for you, and I don't know that it'll help us, but if it can help the big picture, hearing all these things that we struggle with, maybe that can help you get those things there for others so that you don't lose a bunch of us.
Yeah, most certainly. Because, like I said at the beginning, it really is a benefit to everyone to have this model and have this partnership. So we definitely
Absolutely.
we want to support that as much as we can. And as I'm sure you probably know, the fee retention, that's all set by Iowa law. So that's not something the DOT we can't control. I mean, we can't, unilaterally say how that reimbursement model is going. Um, we did see, and I'm sure you're probably well aware that the vehicle registration fee increase bill has gone into effect as of January. And so that I think counties are starting to see a positive impact on that. But I'm happy to just sort of jump into the the ideas, sitting with my team and brainstorming how we can better support you. Certainly, I don't like to hear that we have not, Vicky, if we have not been as supportive to your staff as they feel we should have been, that's something I need to take that to heart and talk to my team. We obviously want to provide that frontline support as much as we can. So I'll just go ahead and jump into kind of the 3 or 4 things that I thought I just wanted to bring for discussion here. So the first being if you start assessing the non-resident fee that was authorized by the legislature several years back, it looks like about 85% of your driver's license issuance volume are Louisa County residents. So the other 15% are not, and that would yield about $3,000 a year. That's very simple to turn on in the system that we provide. It's just we could, that capability is there and that can be charged starting tomorrow. Um, so that's one item. The second item is so the 18 state-operated driver's license service centers use one appointment scheduling system that we have found a lot of efficiencies with. It cuts down a lot of the phone calls for appointments. It cuts down on no-shows because customers can, if they need to cancel or change their appointment, they can do that. Or if what we have found, and I'm sure Vicky, you've experienced, is sometimes customers will appointment shop. So they'll maybe book an appointment at Burlington and in your office, and they'll only show up to one of them. So the system prevents that. And we would love to extend the option for Louisa County to be a part of that system. So we would give Vicky and her team the software system needed to utilize that system and really kind of take some of the burden of that appointment scheduling off and hopefully reduce no-shows and just create a more efficient model that way.
That's something through the state then?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that new, Kathleen? Because I know that in the past counties have asked about that and we were never allowed to use the state system.
That's a great question. Yeah. So this is the system we've been using for several years now. We don't have enough licenses to roll it out to all 83 county treasurers at this time. We have some additional capacity, and so we definitely want to offer that to you in this situation. In less than 2 years, we will have a statewide system that all county treasurers can leverage for appointment scheduling. And so really, Vicky, this would just be kind of, this is sort of an interim solution until we have that complete statewide system within 2 years.
Thank you for that answer.
The other item I want to offer, and this one's a little bit more nebulous, is we have several process improvement specialists on my team who, as I've kind of talked with Vicki and heard the feedback from her staff, I think that there are ways, we see the statewide view, we see how kind of all treasurers are doing things in a different model, or at our service centers, we've gathered some best practices. So if you're open to it, we'd be very happy to send several people to do, a series of brief workshops and try to determine how we can cut down on transaction time and even transaction volume. So things that come to mind as you're talking about the Haitian Creole population, we can get we can, pay for translated materials that you can have available to your staff that you can hand to the customer that's in the dialect that you see, that makes that interaction much faster and simpler. So that's something we can do. Phone calls, I think we can figure out how to divert some of those calls to the DOT because we have statewide staff who are answering questions for DL across the state. And the other benefit of that is if you're using our appointment system, our call center can make appointments in that system. When customers call and they say, I want an appointment at Louisa County, we can handle that. So I think there's something to explore there. I know there were some questions about, and I won't get into tons of details. There were questions about maybe some inefficient processes that, like Googling medications. And so, when I saw that, I instantly did some investigation. I said that can't be right. We can't be, asking our county treasurer partners to conduct that kind of research. They're not trained or equipped to, they're not medical professionals. And so I think that that's on us to provide better training for what that process needs to look like, because we certainly don't expect you guys to be doing that. That's something we have trained team members in our central office who can handle those kinds of things, rather than shifting that onto the counties. And then the last thing here was with drive tests, in kind of looking at your drive route at about 8 minutes, and factoring all that time in together. I also think that if we get some process improvement specialists in there, we can help cut down on some of that, the time it takes, on a monthly basis to conduct some of those drive tests. I definitely want to address the question that you asked about not doing drive tests altogether, because I definitely understand the appeal of that option. It's quite frankly, it's not anyone's favorite part of the job. And I, very much understand that. I think that the reason that we're hesitant to pursue that model is it does raise concerns about being discriminatory in the nature of service of certain populations who tend to need drive tests. So that's why we're hesitant with that one. And quite frankly, again, the DOT can't absorb all drive tests for the whole state. But that said, I think there are opportunities to find efficiencies, if that's something you're interested in. So those are kind of the three immediate items that came to mind: the non-resident fee, the scheduling system, and some process improvement workshops that I think all could lend to a service model that is reduced to less than 4 days a week, if that's something that you'd be interested in. Obviously, Vicki, you know your staff best, you know your customers best. So I think we could work together on that. And then in the long term, and then I'll stop talking because I've talked quite a lot. Within 2 years, MVD is going to replace the ARTS system, which is the system that does all driver and vehicle transactions. So that's really kind of our bread and butter, as Vicki, I'm sure, can tell you. I can't underscore enough the number of efficiencies we are going to see across the state with that system. Because we know that some of the processes are overly burdensome. There are workarounds. It's not intuitive. It's difficult to train staff. It takes too much time. So that's, why we're really prioritizing replacing this system. And I think all offices are going to see a huge, huge benefit. I mean, even just thinking about the financial reconciliations right now that the treasurers need to perform is highly manual. We're going to automate all of that and really, really cut down on the burden with that system. So that is all I have. I'm gonna pause there for questions, concerns, thoughts.
That's a lot of information to digest here, and I think those are good. That's a good conversation to have. I think those are good areas that needed to be addressed. The scheduling is a good thing. The pamphlets with all the language on it, you can hand to these people and say, here, this is what you need, bring that back. I think that would help.
Mhm.
However, we've got 4 different languages.
Well, we have French,
maybe
Spanish, Haitian, Creole, what else?
I thought somebody
Jen?
at Junction said there was 8 different languages up there.
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps expanding. I have, the new program, it sounds wonderful. And this is just a question, and don't take this as a, bad thing or a negative comment, but is the system being set up kind of to try and regionalize the counties down the road? That's my conspiracy theory mind playing, and I apologize for that, but ever since I've worked in the treasurer's office, which has been 33 years, that's how old I am, Kathleen. So, but I was there when driver's license came, and I've been there through a lot of changes. And ever since I started there, it's been something, and not the DOT themselves, but the state has tried to regionalize things, and we've always been able to fight that off. And they're kind of getting to the point where with other things, not saying driver's license, this type of thing, but other things that are being done at the state level are what are pushing us to be where we are. And I worry about the regionalization part of things. And that system sounds great down the road, and I've heard all the positives at our meeting in March. But I also, my husband hated this about me, but I always have to look at both sides, the heads and the tails of a coin. And my negative side to that program is trying to take over other things of the counties in that program. So I see good and I see bad in it. I had to voice that part. But all the things you mentioned would be great. We've never been allowed to use your programming systems or for appointments. So therefore that was never even thought of on our end. The $10 fee I was aware of, however, I had not implemented it yet because I was waiting till the bugs got out of the system. January, I was thinking about starting it, but after this ball kind of started rolling, I decided to wait to see what happened rather than start it and then stop it. So, that's all I kind of had to say on that. I have my first deputy from my office here too, so I kind of want to let her speak and kind of talk on the actual day-to-day problems that they see.
The only concern I really have is with the online scheduling. I know with the DOT service centers, it really cuts back on their phone calls, but they also have internal phone numbers. So I've talked to Burlington, and it's been really hard to get a hold of someone down there. And I finally had an email, shot him an email, and he was like, please don't give this number out to the public. So I don't know how this is truly going to cut down on our phone calls. They're still going to call us first. It's going to take years for people to jump on the wagon of online scheduling, and people who will just refuse.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry you got that response from Burlington. I think maybe there's just some confusion there because we do want to reserve the actual contact of the service centers themselves. We want to reserve that for internal use for you, so that if you're trying to call Burlington, you're not sitting in a line behind 20 members of the public. Rather, we have a public line that we'd prefer to direct folks to, and absolutely you can send folks that way. The wait times are generally, we strive for under 10 minutes is our goal, and we're usually able to achieve that. So I think there was some confusion maybe on that part. I know if you do use our ACE team phone line, it's a dedicated team in our headquarters that's specifically for frontline driver's license staff support. That's usually an immediate answer, or our average can be up to 2 to 3 minutes wait time. But yeah, I think, Vicky, going back to your initial question about the system, we already operate on a model where the state, by statute, provides the vehicle registration and the driver's licensing system. So that's the model we have right now. The replacement of the system would not seek to disrupt that in any way, wouldn't disrupt what transactions counties are performing or what fees they're performing. And that would also require legislative change if that were the intention. It's not an intention that I'm aware of, but I can only speak for myself. So I think it's a good point to bring up.
I also see one of my clerks has a message on here. It says, I've asked for more materials in the languages that we need, and the state stated to me that it wasn't able to be provided. Are the papers in other languages something that's new?
Yeah, I think this is an area we could improve on. Obviously, throughout the state, there's hundreds of languages spoken. So I think we typically prioritize those based on the number. I mean, we have translated materials in a large variety of languages, but we typically focus on kind of the top dozen, as those, it costs obviously to translate materials. I can't speak to why you were given that answer. I will only say that we should be, if you have a specific need in your local community, we should be meeting that. And that is my intention.
I have a question on the scheduling part, but we have of course, there's going to be a generation that really isn't what I would consider computer savvy.
Mhm.
So how do you handle that when you have people that just don't understand how to get on the system and schedule it through a computer?
Yeah, absolutely. They can call and schedule, or, at our service centers, we also allow walk-ins. It's an appointment preferred model, but we do take quite a lot of appointment scheduling requests via phone. It's just that they're also then input into that system, so all the appointments are in one place.
And we do accommodate walk-ins if possible. Sometimes a little more difficult than others, but we do try. So.
I guess I would like to get a list of the languages that you deal with and get those to her and see if they have those papers that are interpretive to that language, and make sure that's on their radar. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Mhm.
Okay.
Making them.
Yeah, we can provide that, and then we'll see where we're at on that. That seems to be one of the bigger barriers.
Okay.
See.
It's a very big struggle. I mean,
Yeah.
and because there'll be times that 2 of the 4 of us are on the phone with someone trying to translate, or, and it could take forever.
Yeah.
And that takes you away from every other job you're trying to.
And I can also see if you had a paper that had a list of the things that they needed to provide without trying to stumble through that. You can just hand them the paper and say, this is what you need.
Not saying it wouldn't help,
I know.
no.
Yeah, we will try.
Or even too, Vicky, if it's like I know you kind of have a thing you walk through before a drive test. So
Uh-huh,
maybe if those instructions are translated as well.
okay. That's good, because a lot of times it's very hard to get through what headlights are to someone who doesn't speak English.
Now, I don't want to sound rude about this, but if they can't speak or read English, how how do they read road signs? How can we,
The shape and the color.
what about street signs?
Yeah, I know. That, I just know that in a test, in a written test, it's the shape and the color of the sign. You don't see the words on it. It's just the shape and the color that you have to
Yeah, but
know.
you could come up to road construction and there's a big
That
left
tells you
lane
what to
closed
do.
ahead. That-
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I'm just saying on some roadsides, it's the side, you
Yeah.
know, the shape and the color, but as far as, you know, accident ahead, use this detour, they're not gonna be able to read that on a sign flashing in front of them, so I get that, absolutely.
I have another question. I've been around a few years and it used to be that the DOT came into town at least twice a month, maybe 3 to 4 times a month and performed this service. And why was that abandoned in favor of moving it into the courthouses?
Yeah, well, this was before my time, but I can say that that model ended when the 1998 legislation passed to give county treasurers the ability to do those issuance functions. Am I right on that, Vicky?
Yeah, yeah. That part of it ended in 99. I think there's a couple counties that still have, is it Marion County? I don't know for sure who all does, but they still have like traveling, don't they? That they have like 2 locations they function out of.
Some counties I think do, but that is, yeah, at the discretion of the county. That's not like something that the DOT staffs.
But that's the only traveling I know of at this point, yes. 99 was when the file passed and the treasurers took over in 2000. That's another reason, that's one of the hard things for me is to see it go when I was here, when it came, but it's a whole different animal than it was when we started in 2000. The requirements of it and the time it takes and things is a lot more now than when we started doing it. And Beth can attest, she's been doing it for
Over 10 years.
and just in those 10 years, it has completely changed. You know, I mean, just there's so much more responsibility that we have now on our side. And your state stations, that's all they do. So it's easier for them, you know, to do all that where we have to take off the hat for property taxes and then go over here and do motor vehicle and then go over here and do driver's license and take this person out drive. There's a lot of it's an additional stress. And now with us down a person, it makes it that much harder.
So can licenses be renewed online?
Yes.
So how many times? Once?
Yeah, once. So they're valid for 8 years typically. Some caveats in there, there always are. But for most people, yep, you can renew online and then you do have to come in person the next time. But you know, theoretically, you only have to come in once every 16 years.
That would help. Get that kind of information out there,
Yeah, and then that's, you know, I mean,
right?
I could put out, you know, I've already been starting to try and get information compiled to make a big ad for the paper, but I haven't got it all done yet.
And if we can absolutely help with that, Vicky. If you'd like a little, we have, you know, we have little graphics you can just submit to the paper or whatever. We're more than happy to provide you with those images to promote, you know, go see what you can do online before you come visit us.
That would help the renewals, but you still have the OWIs and the problematic ones, which is the ones that we really.
Yeah,
They
Well,
can pay their civil penalties online.
there's a
They
lot of it they can
can,
do.
you know,
They
fax,
can get driving
email,
records. Mhm.
Yeah.
mail in their SR22s, their driver school, all of that.
CDL med certs now too.
CDL med certs you can do online.
Well,
Yeah.
that information would be good to get.
Is there flyers, are there things that I can get from you on all of those different things that I could possibly like? I'm not gonna, you know, inundate the paper and Facebook with every single one at one time, but put one out here and there, yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be something I could
Oh,
get?
absolutely. Yeah. And if we don't already have it, we can whip it up because if, you know, if that's something you're wanting, I suspect other counties would want it as well.
I think whichever direction, I mean, at this point, we're closing. So it would be helpful for us to be able to give those directives to the people so they know what they can do and give them their options. If something happens and that turns around, it's still going to be helpful and directive no matter what. So I think that'd be great. I'll send you an email, Kathleen.
So if we did run some of these ads in the paper, is that our bill or is that the state's bill?
It's mine. So, that amendment you just did, might be seeing me again, but,
Yeah.
that'd be our bill.
Yeah.
We'd have to pay for those, but,
You can send it to the state, but I doubt they pay for it.
Facebook's free, but I'll put it in the paper too.
So you said you was aware of the medical questions and stuff. How quick of a solution do we have to address those questions for them?
Yeah, that's a great question and one of our most complex issues, right? So often we end up, we have to get in contact with the person's doctor. But again, the way that really should be flowing is, someone on the counter flags, okay, this person might have a medical issue. They send them away with their medical report that they need to fill out. Then that should come back to us. We should do all the research, all the back and forth, and then we should just come back and say, okay, this person can be issued or they cannot. And we should be coming with a final decision rather than, your team, Vicky, having to muddle through all that because
The medical report should be being sent to you, because I know when we first started doing this way back in 2000, that's how it was. If there was a medical that had any of those types of issues on it, like a loss of consciousness or medicines, we sent those to you guys reviewed them, and sent them back to us. Now it's been presented to us, we have to do a lot of that research. And if we found something that needed to be addressed, we send it on to you. So are you saying that we should be sending all of them to you, or is that?
well, we would love to be able, obviously we've been really focusing on training in this area, so that your staff feels comfortable and confident. But always, if you're not sure, if it's not a clear cut and dry, then you should send it to us.
Because that is another one of our concerns is trainings. You offer a lot of online trainings, but again, I'm really emphasizing how old I am here, so I hate that. But back when I did our initial trainings, we did hands-on. We had fraud trainings where we were given a fraudulent driver's license and we were giving the black light and we were given all the tools you could use to see that that was fraudulent. Now all that's done online, which is not a good way to learn how something's fraudulent. And like your medicals and your visions, we went through those in a meeting and we said, okay, this is wrong. What do you do in this situation? It's harder to learn that stuff through a computer program, a webinar. Yes, like Beth said, a webinar. It's very hard to learn that way. The hands-on trainings and the person-to-person trainings is what I feel we all need, not just speaking for my office. This would be statewide, all treasurer's offices that do driver's license, because I think that it's not just your people that are coming in and going out, because I had a lot of turnover in staff in the last 5 years, and not saying everything was because of all of the issues with this, but I know it was part of it. And so I don't want to see that keep happening. So that's something I think, if it can't help us give you this seed to know that for other counties and for our county, the hands-on training is a definite must to be able to be confident in what you're doing and, that kind of thing. It definitely is.
So
Yep.
if the board was considering moving forward and keeping it open, how much notice do you need to have people come down and do this training? Weeks, a day?
Are you talking about like the specific training Vicky was asking for?
Right, yeah.
I think we have a great training team, but they serve the whole state. And so, I think the more notice you could give us, the better. But obviously this is a unique situation. So, I think we can figure out how to make something work.
Couple of weeks, a few weeks.
Yeah,
Okay.
a couple of weeks
Okay.
at minimum, I think would be good.
I just didn't want to go down a path and then have you come back and say, well, normally it's 90 days before we get someone down there or what.
Oh, no. And Vicky, the kind of training, and I know that we do our annual district-based trainings, and that's a full day of hands-on training. So I don't know when that's scheduled to come out your way. It's usually done in the summer, so that is coming. But certainly, like the fraudulent, the medical stuff and the fraud are always in high demand. So we have stuff ready to deploy, and we can get that out.
And I feel like I'm being completely negative on everything I say, but those district meetings seem to be kind of repetitive and there's not much hands-on done. The last two we've
Okay.
had. It's been
Okay,
kind
good
of
feedback.
the repetitive stuff and telling us what the DOT's doing and what's in store. And we like to learn that stuff, but when we go to these district meetings and we're meeting with you in person, we want to see medical reports, fraud, those kinds of things, hands-on trainings that are going to help us help the citizens. And I don't feel like a lot of times that's what we get in those.
Good feedback. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'd like to do is I want to put on the agenda for our next meeting, which is next Tuesday, for further discussion and get some feedback from the public. When we're done with our meeting here, we're gonna we got some people from the public here. I want to get some feedback from them. And, we'll be in contact via email. I'll let you know what we are talking about, what we expect if we decide to continue.
Yeah, and would it be, would it be helpful for me or maybe Julie or one of my team members to just be present in a listen only mode next week, or?
I don't think that would hurt.
Okay.
I don't want, I certainly don't have a problem with the public with input. I'm very transparent, but I don't want the meeting to be completely hijacked over this specific topic. We have plenty of other things business that we have to deal with, so I may have to put a restriction of a few minutes per person, just in anticipation that it gets too far out of hand, but, yeah, if you could send somebody down, that would be helpful, because there may be questions that arise that we don't have the answers to.
Sure.
That would be nice to have a representative here for that.
Okay.
Our
Absolutely.
meetings are Tuesday mornings at 8:30.
Okay.
So I do have one,
Or online, yeah, online would be okay too, yeah.
I do have one question on this one appointment. That's just on the computer. There's not a phone line associated with that where you can call and schedule appointment on the phone with the state officer.
Well, we can definitely do the phone appointments as well. And
So
that
you
would
could-
come through that would come through the
handle-
DOT's call center.
Okay.
So, you could put something on your website for driver's license appointments, visit this website or call this number. And that would be our number.
That number then goes to Des Moines. And they get online and type it in, is that how that works?
Yeah, yes, essentially, we have a decentralized call model, so we have people across the state taking calls, but yeah, it's the one line, and then they would plug it into if they see an open slot. And Vicky, you would manage that whole calendar. You would open up appointments when you have availability. You would close days or times you don't want to be doing appointments, and the agent would just say, "Oh, there's a slot." Plug the person in there.
So like vacations or that kind of a thing, I could mark off days if I need to, that kind of thing. Okay, well, that's good
Makes
to know.
sense.
Okay.
Great. Does anybody have anything else for us?
No, I answered that question.
All right, well, it sounds like you've answered what we need to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're a resource. So Vicky, you know how to get a hold of us. I think you all have my email address and phone number. So please feel free to reach out, and we'll just wait to hear from you, and we'll plan to have someone kind of just attend in case there's questions for next Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thank
afternoon.
you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I have 4 people from the public.
I have a question, when you closed the driver's license station, what were your goals by doing that for the citizens of Louisa County?
Well, basically, I think it was to reduce the turnover rate in the office and not to have to add the person back that was gonna cost more than what it would generate.
So how does that benefit the people of Louisa County?
Financially.
How long have we been without an extra person in the treasurer's office?
Not quite a year, because it was
Have we paid
May.
any overtime for that position?
We just work extra time and then I give the girls those hours off, so we don't pay, or I've not had overtime, but that doesn't mean we don't spend extra hours doing things.
Okay, no, that's what you gotta do with the job, with what it takes to do the job, in any job you do.
I get there at between 6:30 and 6:45 every morning,
And I thank you very much.
so.
And, by doing this, has our population increased or decreased?
Decrease.
So do you think that closing this office would contribute to the bringing people back into this office or having people leave because of the lack of that service?
I really don't see anybody leaving because of lack of the service.
There's people that never leave Louisa County.
It's nice to have the service. I don't think people are gonna move out of the county because we don't have the service particularly.
I think we need to look out for the citizens of Louisa County and keep them in mind.
That's why we're having this meeting.
Thank you very much.
Al, you're all quiet.
Just take a hard.
Absorbing. Anybody else?
I'm always quiet.
Sometimes. Okay, well, if not, I'll ask for adjournment.
So move.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Guess we'll put it back on the agenda.
Hello.
Thank you for the phone call. I would have.
I texted you,
I like some of the things she mentioned, but I don't think they're gonna fix this don't. I think they're gonna help. I mean, they've helped by all means, but I think it would have been nice to have these things, what, 4 years ago?
I really,
That got me wound up to go.
the first email I got from them said they were hopefully gonna have some of this implemented by 2028. So the implementation of any of these fixes of the state, I don't look for them to happen.
Before that.
In the hallway, and he says, no.
And that's hopeful,
That is not like.
That's hopeful.
Yeah.
So
Added to it.
it bothers me a little bit that
Motion to.
this call system has been available.
We,
If you live in one of the bigger areas, you know,
I have
and they're
asked,
offering it to the counties.
I looked into this, was it
No,
2
we don't.
years ago? Because I looked at a program to buy, so we could do ours all online, and it was like $15,000. Well, I knew we couldn't afford that. Got a hold of the DOT and was told we could not use their system. So therefore, those last 3 years, if we would have known we could have been using it, that could have alleviated a little bit of problems. But it's not gonna stop people from